I was commissioned to decorate a wooden chest for a naval officer's retirement by adding plaques, some carvings, and a nice tray on the inside. But the biggest challenge was to mount his sword and cutlass in a big wooden surface warfare emblem. Here's how I did that. So here's the sword and cutlass. I need to get a good contrasty picture of this. So I've set up my ladder. You can see that from this high angle I can get a pretty decent shot, and using that I can then draw the vectors I need to make the carvings that will hold these in place inside the box. I took the photograph and put it into my photo editing software to get the lines as crisp as I can, and then I imported it into a session of Aspire. The next step was to outline the sword and cutlass. So with that outlined, I went ahead and got rid of the bitmap layer, and then I imported my Surface Warfare Officer insignia, and then the last step was to just cut out the parts that I needed. So I will get rid of the swords, and now you see those cutouts, and those cutouts are where I'm going to have to carve out the back of the surface warfare device so those swords fit nice and nice and snugly in there. Now I did one other thing, and that is I went and measured the actual cross section of the cutlass, and I measured the actual cross section of the sword. I then went and measured what my vector drawing showed and made corrections. I'll simply now enlarge them slightly, just make them a little bit bigger so my cutouts are a little bit loose, and that'll make it so the swords will fit and cutlass will fit in there right. I made some alignment holes, symmetrical right to left, so that when I flip this over I can make sure the alignment stays perfectly, because I'm going to be cutting into the back of this piece. Then I made a mirror of those cutouts. If you think about it, once I flip the wood over to cut these out, I really need the mirror image to be cut. So now I'm ready to actually make the cutouts. So I'll go ahead and take a look at the preview of the alignment holes. There they are. And I'll put 1/4" dowels right into the spoil board. And then I'll make the cutout for the mirror image of the cutlass, and the same thing for the sword. Go ahead and preview that. Now I'm going to flip this over and do the rest of the cutting. Imagine now that I flipped the piece of wood. There's the alignment holes, and now I'm ready to actually cut the surface warfare device. So there's the surface warfare device, and then I'll do my cutout. I'd like to be able to register the clamshell back that I'm going to attach to this thing to hold everything together. So with the piece flipped over, I'm just going to cut these little shallow 1/4" deep holes. This back piece is cut out of the same type of material, and in this case I'm going to hog out all the material around, but not in the cutlass channels. The cutlass is the deepest piece, and so this will fit snugly into that channel. And again, I've got the 2 registering holes. I've also made some very shallow cuts to show where I'll put screws to hold the whole clamshell together. First of all, I'll relieve the back. Okay, and now I've got everything hogged away except for the channel where the cutlass is going to be. This fits on down to hold the cutlass in nice and snugly. I'll show my register holes. There we go. And then I'll make my little marks for the screw holes. You can see that. And finally cut this piece out. So once I saw through the tabs, I'll be set. So now this piece, if you can imagine, will fit into the back of the piece that has the surface warfare insignia. And this whole thing is going to be about 1 7/8 inch thick when we're done, with the swords securely held in there. Okay, so now I'm ready to take these tool paths over to the machine and start cutting. Okay, now I think maybe you can get a much better idea how this works. Here's the surface warfare insignia, and I take my cutlass and place it as so, and the sword, and then I take this piece and it fits in here. Now I'm going to be wrapping the sword and cutlass with some of this foam to protect it. Okay, so this will fit on here like this with those alignment holes, and then I'll screw using 1-inch brass screws, 6 screws around here, and that'll hold the whole thing together. I have to mount this, and I decided to use a mono mount, a one-piece mount that's in the center. This lid has faceted slats, 1, 2, 3, 4 slats. So I got to figure out the angle between the middle 2 slats, then cut this mounting pedestal piece to fit in there and have a flat bottom. And what I had to figure out is the distance between the bottom of the wood here and the apex of the slat. So first thing I did was I just used a straight edge to make sure that I was parallel all along here. And I went ahead and measured, and yeah, I'm pretty darn close to parallel, and I'm pretty well centered. So now it's just a matter of taking my straight edge and going down to the apex here. I'm measuring 4 1/4 inches on this side, and I'm the same here. So essentially I'll make a single mounting piece that goes down 4 1/4 inches, has an angle on it so it'll fit inside this top. Screw it in from the outside, and it will screw onto the bottom of this piece. Okay, so to get the angle between these 2 slats, I made a little shop-made angle just big enough to fit in there. What I did was take a couple of slats of wood and drill a 1/4 inch hole and put a fluted dowel in there, give it enough friction. Then I transferred that over to a real bevel gauge. And then once I got that angle on that bevel gauge, I went to my actually measuring gauge here where I could measure it off a 156-degree angle. Okay, so I've got the bracket here attached with 5 screws going inside the back. And now I'm just going to do a little test fit. I've drilled holes, 3 holes through the top. You can see where the screw's coming through there. And I've made 1 pilot hole in the center. I'm going to use 3 2-inch number 8 brass slot head screws. And there you can kind of get the idea. I'll go ahead and mark the other 2 pilot holes, drill them, and then I should be ready to go ahead and finish this. Okay, I've put finish, lacquer finish on this, and I'm ready to assemble it. Start with the cutlass. I said I was going to wrap some of that foam around the blade, and I did. And that will make this fit nice and snugly and protect the blade. Do the same thing with the sword. Get it approximately where I think it should be. And go ahead and put the top on, or the back, excuse me. Those registration dowels to fit in there nicely. And if you've been paying real close attention, you might notice that originally I had 6 screws holding this back on because I was planning on putting 2 attachment mounting brackets. After I decided to go with a single bracket, I had to modify my design a little bit. And there it is. Now these cutlass and sword can slide slightly, and that'll allow me to get them positioned exactly right inside the box. Okay, now it's just a matter of mounting this in. This is one of those times where you wish you had somebody helping you, or 3 hands, but I don't have either of those right now, so we're just going to make it work. All right, there you are. Should be able to close. And it does. Okay, so if you should ever have the need to mount a couple swords or a sword and a cutlass inside a chest, now you know how. Thanks for watching.